Now, what if I told you the most notorious con man in rock history got bored of destroying punk, got bored of humiliating Adam Ant, and decided his next project would be a 13-year-old girl he found singing at a dry cleaner? He didn't just make her famous. He stripped her naked on an album cover, had Scotland Yard knocking on his door, and he walked away without a scratch. Here's how wanting candy turned into losing everything. So in 1980, Malcolm McLaren was riding high. He had already blown up the Sex Pistols, the most infamous band in punk history. He pocketed the cash, watched the chaos, and moved on like a guy leaving a house fire he'd started. And now he needed a new toy. So he walked into Adam Ant's rehearsal room, told Adam his band was great, but he was terrible, and convinced 3 of Adam's musicians, guitarist Matthew Ashman, bassist Lee Gorman, and drummer Dave Barbarossa, to walk out and form a new band under McLaren's control. I covered that part in detail a few videos back on the Adam Ant video. But basically, he stole an entire band. But McLaren didn't have a singer. And here's the thing, he didn't want a professional. He wanted raw material, something that he could mold, manipulate, and market, something that would generate headline. So he sends out talent scouts. And one of them, a guy Dave Fishel, walked into a dry cleaner in West Hampstead, London, and heard a 13-year-old girl singing along to the radio while she was sorting laundry. And her name was Meon Ai, born in Rangoon, Burma, to a Burmese father and English mother. Tiny kid, loud as hell. She had this wild, untrained, completely feral voice that sounded like nothing else on the radio. Fishel brought her to McLaren. And here's the thing about McLaren. He had spent the entire 70s perfecting a formula. Find raw talent, package it, exploit it, pocket the cash. Leave the wreckage behind. He had done it with the Sex Pistols. Made himself famous while the band self-destructed. Johnny Rotten hated him. Sid Vicious, well, you know what happened with him. Yes, I also covered that in detail. And McLaren walked away richer and more celebrated than ever. So McLaren took one look at this kid and saw everything that he needed. Not talent or potential, but a product. She auditioned, she got the gig. McLaren renamed her Annabella Lewin and transferred her out of her comprehensive school into the Sylvia Young Theater School. Didn't ask her mom's permission. He showed up and told her mom how it was going to be. And just like that, a 13-year-old laundromat worker was the lead singer of a brand new band called Bow Wow Wow. She wasn't even old enough to buy a pint. And so McLaren got to work building his machine. Bow Wow Wow wasn't a band in any normal sense. It was an art project, or more like a fashion statement, really. Provocation engine. McLaren and his partner, Vivian Westwood, had built punk fashion together. Now they needed a new look. So the answer was pirate chic. Ruffled shirts, sashes, tribal prints, bright colors. Where did they get that idea from? Let me know in the comments section. Bow Wow Wow existed to sell Westwood's pirate collection as much as to sell records. The music was secondary to the spectacle. And here's the thing, the music was actually pretty good. Ashman, Gorman, and Barbarossa were serious players. They had been Adam Ant's backbone, the guys who helped Adam develop that tribal drum sound that later made him a star. And now McLaren had them. They blended that Burundi drumming, surf guitar, new wave energy into something completely original. You hear these deep pounding double drums and then this buzzing guitar riff, and then Annabella's voice would come screaming in like a feral cat at a dinner party. Shouldn't have worked, but it totally did. And Annabella's voice was perfect for it, like a firecracker on a frickin' wedding cake. Chaotic, exciting, and really just cut through the mix. And the irony was that McLaren had accidentally built something genuinely great. Problem was he didn't care about the music, he cared more about the spectacle. The first single, C30, C60, C90, Go, came out in 1980 on EMI Records. It turned out it was actually the world's first ever cassette single. The song celebrated home taping, basically encouraging listeners to snatch up their own copies. Get it? Pirate music. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But EMI, the label releasing it, was part of the British phonographic industry that was actively fighting music piracy. So McLaren's own label refused to promote their debut single. And that was McLaren's specialty. We're not talking just burning bridges here. He would burn them while standing on them laughing. And the single still hit number 34 at the UK chart without any label support. NME named it one of the top tracks of 1980. And so EMI dropped Bow Wow Wow after just 2 singles. So they signed to RCA in 1981 under A&R head Bill Kimber. And this is when McLaren decided to really start pushing things. Because having a 14-year-old singer wasn't enough chaos. He was needing a bit of scandal there as well. So now it's 1981. You're Annabella Lewin, 14 years old, been in this band for about a year. Didn't write any of the songs. McLaren co-wrote the lyrics with the other band members and directed you basically to operate like a puppet. He recorded a track called Sexy Eiffel Towers, where he had to do suggestive moaning and heavy breathing on tape at friggin' 14. He claimed the panting was supposed to be panic, not what McLaren implied. But now your manager tells you it's time to shoot the album cover. The album was called Sea Jungle, Go Join Your Gang, yeah, city all over it, go ape crazy. Very interesting titles here. McLaren hired photographer Andy Earle and told him that they were recreating a famous painting, specifically a Monet painting. 19th century painting of a nude woman having a picnic with two clothed men. And the nude woman in this one? Well, there you go, Annabella. So she posed, completely in the old birthday suit, arm and leg positioned to cover things that were not supposed to be in the photograph. But that photograph went on the album cover. And as went boom, her mom saw it. So Annabella's mom went to Scotland Yard and alleged exploitation of a young one for immoral purposes. An actual criminal investigation was launched. The band was forbidden from leaving the UK until McLaren promised not to promote Annabella as a sex kitten. But did that stop him? The exact same photograph appeared again on the cover of their follow-up EP, Last of the Mohicans. McLaren didn't even blink. The relationship between Annabella and her mom fractured. Annabella later said that they had a falling out, and she had to leave home and go live with her aunt. 14 years old. Lost her family because her manager wanted a provocative album cover. And here's what makes it worse. McLaren was simultaneously planning a magazine called Chick It. The name was slang that was thrown around by the really creepy dudes, if you know what I mean. And he admitted he chose it because of its connections to that group of really creepy dudes. The whole magazine was supposed to be dedicated to the subject that the creepy dudes really dig. I'm going to put it that way. Thankfully, it never got published, but the photo sessions did happen. And some bad crap did happen during those photo sessions. So despite all this, the scandal, Scotland Yard investigation, fractured family, the music kept working. And in fact, it was about to peak. In June of 1982, RCA released a 4-track EP called The Last of the Mohicans, produced by Kenny Laguna, and the lead single was a cover of a 1965 song by the Strangeloves called I Want Candy, and it totally exploded. Hit number 9 on the UK singles chart, 62 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US. Modest on paper, but MTV put the colorful video into heavy rotation. The video was directed by Steve Kahn, who had also done Run DMC's Rock Box. So in 1982, MTV rotation was everything. And Annabella was right dead center of the whole thing. Wild hair, tribal paint, bursting with energy, moved like she was plugged into a socket. And she was basically the hook. She was 15 years old, and she was the reason anybody was watching. RCA even compiled a separate US album called I Want Candy to capitalize on the MTV buzz. And the band was on magazine covers, touring constantly. Imagine being 15, headlining shows on MTV, your face is everywhere, and the dude running your career is the same dude who got you in the pictures in the birthday suit at 14 and called it art. But McLaren, he was already losing interest. That was his pattern. Build something, blow it up, move on. As he had done with the Sex Pistols and Adam Ant. And now he was doing it with Bow Wow Wow. Earlier in 81, he had even tried to bring in a second singer, a kid named George Allen O'Dowd, whom McLaren renamed Lieutenant Lush. Kid got booed off the stage at the Rainbow Theater and left. He went on to form Culture Club and became Boy George. So even Boy George got out of McLaren's orbit. That's how toxic it was. By late 82, McLaren walked away from Bow Wow Wow entirely. Just left. No goodbye or transition plan. No, here's gonna manage you now. He was just done. He had solo album ideas, fashion projects, a short attention span, and no loyalty to anybody. But he didn't care what happened to the 4 people he was leaving behind. So the band tried to carry on without the puppet master. They recorded When the Going Gets Tough, The Tough Get Going in 83 with producer Mike Chapman, who had worked with Blondie and The Knack. For the first time ever, the band wrote their own songs. Annabella actually contributed creatively for the first time, and it turned out to be a really solid album. Cover was shot by legendary photographer David Bailey, but the damage was done. 3 years of McLaren's circus had defined them. Press couldn't write about Bow Wow Wow without mentioning the nude album cover. Music was buried under the scandal. RCA didn't push it hard enough. Singles, Do You Want to Hold Me barely cracked number 47 in the UK, and the momentum from I Want Candy in America just evaporated. And then came September 1983. Band had just finished a grueling US tour. Everybody was sick and exhausted. Tension was unbearable. And the remaining 3 members, Ashman, Gorman, Barbarossa, made a decision. They're going to dump Annabella and form a new band without her. However, they didn't tell her to her face or call her or even send a letter. She found out she'd been fired by reading it in NME, music newspaper. So now you're 16, spent the last 3 years of your life being paraded around by a con man, stripped down for album covers, separated from your own mom, and the 3 guys you've been through all the hell with don't even have the guts to pick up the phone. They just let her read it in the press. And that was like the final betrayal. Not McLaren this time, but actually her own bandmates. So what happened, everybody? The 3 musicians initially formed a band called Chiefs of Relief, but Barbarossa and Gorman left early on. Matthew Ashman kept it going, sang lead, brought in Paul Cook from the Sex Pistols on the drums. He released 1 album in '88 on Sire Records. Nobody bought it. Nobody cared. And in '95, Matthew Ashman died, complications from diabetes at 35 years old. Dave Barbarossa became a session drummer, worked with Republica, Beats International, Roland Gift. Decent career, but pretty anonymous. Lee Gorman kept going. In '97, he and Annabella actually reunited for a U.S. tour under the Bow Wow Wow name. But in 2012, Gorman fired Annabella again. Yes, again, and started touring as Bow Wow Wow with a different singer, without her permission or consent. So Annabella put up on her website, any shows advertised as Bow Wow Wow without Annabella, featuring a hired singer from another band, are done without knowledge, permission, or consent. The she tours as Annabella Lewin of original Bow Wow Wow. So as far as Annabella was concerned, she went solo in '85, released a single called Don't Dance with Strangers. Her '86 album Fever barely charted. She bounced around the dance music scene, did some featured vocals for DJs, and played small venues. She's been performing ever since, still singing, still out there. Malcolm McLaren, he moved on to a solo music career. He released Buffalo Gals and Double Dutch, got into fashion, opera, technology, made money, kept his reputation as a genius provocateur, and nobody held him accountable for all the photography crap, no accountability for Chicken Magazine. Nobody snagged him for stealing Adam Ant's band, though Adam Ant kind of got his own poetic revenge by doing well. He died in 2010 from mesothelioma, if I pronounced that right. We hear it on lawyer commercials on TV all the time. But likely from asbestos in the sex boutique he'd run with Westwood on the King's Road. He was 64. So you had a man who made a career out of taking other people's talent, wrapping it in scandal, and walking away richer. And that's Malcolm McLaren's legacy. Not art or vision, just a con man who picked on people who really couldn't fight back. A little kid who never had the chance. Like, subscribe. Thank you.